I'd like to start off by thanking Jack down here for arranging this evening. And just a few notes from me as chairman of the meeting. UKIP is now looking to the future. We have, via the 23rd of June referendum, achieved the principle of leaving the EU. And in the process, we have rocked the British and world establishments. We now need to move forward from the public perception of a single issue party to become a radical political party. The issues that are foremost in voters' minds are the NHS, education, defence and security. We can be radical here and achieve our aims without alienating the majority of the population. The NHS is a national health service. It should be stopped. It should not be a stopping off point for foreign nationals. Even within the EU, we should be charging foreign governments for EU nationals using our NHS, as the EU does us. Education, we should scrap this stupid idea of sending 50% of our population to university. And we should move on an ability criterion to a science, technology, engineering and mathematics curriculum. These would be grant-aided students. A fraction of the money saved should be ploughed into apprenticeships. We need an economy that makes things the world wants. We need a radical STEM policy. The primary duty of government is defence of the realm. It is not wrong to wish to control our borders and admit those who we wish and deny those we don't. We are the 5th largest economy and we should be trading with the world. We have a huge bank of talent and a wealth of inventions to our name. We need a government who will champion this and not let others capitalise on our work. But to achieve these ends, we need to get elected. Racist policies will not achieve this aim. Thank you. I thank all our candidates for coming, and they are here in a reverse alphabetical order starting that end, and I'm going to ask each one of them to say for 3 minutes, give a presentation of what they want. Ben Walker has not arrived this evening. We don't know why, unforeseeable circumstances. Neville Watson is here in place of John Rhys-Evans, and David Allen is here on behalf of Henry Bolton. So again, I will get over to Peter Whittle now and give him the microphone.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And is this working, ladies and gentlemen? Can you hear it? It's great to be here, and it's great to see such a great turnout. Been doing an awful lot of hustings, going to meetings all around the country. And in fact, what strikes me is the amount of people who care so much about the future of our party. This is not a party, such as the media are telling you, which is somehow or other on its last legs or dying. It's not. You don't get that when you get this kind of turnout. It's fantastic. I would just say, in the 3 minutes I've got, I'll just put my pitch to you. First of all, talk about our party, which, let's face it, is in a bit of a bad way at the moment, and also my vision for that party. First of all, when it comes to the party, we have got to have a major reorganisation of how this party is run, without question. Secondly, we've got to make sure that there will never ever again be any standing aside in constituencies which talk about the potential of 2 million votes off of us at the last election. Under my leadership, that would never happen. Thirdly, we've got to re-establish the links between the central party and all of the local associations, because it's broken down. And real direct democracy is about meetings like this, coming out, seeing each other face to face, talking about what the party needs and what you feel about policy. And finally, when it comes to the party, I know we have a hostile media. I've done more national media than anyone else here tonight. I do know what it is about when you go on the BBC or Channel 4. And the fact is, we've still got to do that, but we've got to actually develop our own media. We've got to take a leaf out of the American book and a leaf out of the Europeans and basically start developing our own platforms. It's not as difficult as it sounds. We've got to bypass this hostile media. And what I would say to you is that what is the vision we will be putting to people? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see it as nothing more than being the party of national revival. National revival. We've come out of the EU, but soon we will now be a nation, a proper nation state once again. We have to rebuild British patriotism. We have to rebuild a sense of our own identity. We have to rebuild confidence in this country. I'm tired of the amount of young people who don't even know what is so great about this country, and they don't therefore know what they should actually be defending or indeed carrying forward. This is our mission. We've got Tories on the one hand who only care about the bottom line, about money, and we've got a Labour Party who basically are undisguised in their dislike of this country. We are the only people truly patriotic. We have got to fight for British values, fight for British law, fight for British traditions. And I see that is absolutely the crucial thing for us going forward. So thank you very much indeed.
Good evening, everyone. This doesn't sound very loud, but I assume you can hear it.
Who are you?
My name is Anne-Marie Waters. Okay, any better? It sounds a little bit better. Any better? Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, like Peter, I'm delighted to see so many people here, and the party seems to be reinvigorated. It's an incredible thing. We are getting enormous turnouts every night. But from my point of view, I don't think it's good enough necessarily for us to talk about politics and political machinery, and it's certainly not enough for us to talk about the party. The party does need reform, but what I think we need to do is two major things. We need to present a clear and concise offer on two areas. We need to offer the big picture and the smaller picture. Now, the bigger picture is our responsibility and our duty for the future, for future generations. The big picture obviously involves the European Union. Now, I think we need to start changing how we talk about the European Union. The European Union is essentially a power grab from people. It was designed to remove people's say over their own lives and over their own countries. It was designed for that. Now, we need to make sure that people understand what the EU is. It is a top-down bureaucracy intended to remove the power of the voter in the nation state. When we drive home this message, and also when we link it with mass immigration, a mass immigration that has transformed Europe and is continuing to transform Europe, only then will we keep public opinion high enough to make sure that Brexit happens, because you can see the betrayal. You can see what Labour did this week, for example, wanting to stay in the single market, wanting to keep the borders open. That's not Brexit, and it's not what people voted for. And that rhetoric from Labour is essentially the political arrogance that we need to fight. That arrogance that says, you don't know what you're doing, we know best, we will take charge of this. The second thing we need to do is look at the little picture. We must bring politics into people's everyday lives. We must promise that we will protect their jobs against competition from all over the world, that we will have an NHS hospital bed when they need it, that their kids will be educated and not indoctrinated, that their streets will be safe. Above all, I want UKIP to be the party of law and order. I want policing restored. I want rapists, not tweeters, arrested. This is a clear and concise offer that we need to make. We must be brave. We must be radical. We need to do the things and say the things that other people won't. We must be an alternative to the uniformity that is coming out of all the other parties in the Commons. We will build trust if we do this, we will build confidence if we do this, and we will win if we do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Neville Watson. I'm not John Rhys Evans. You may have guessed that. No. But I'm here standing in for John. So I'm going to give you a brief, I said the opening, and why I'm here, and why John is the natural leader of this movement, this party. First of all, it's important for us to understand who we are. It's said, what the mind can conceive and you truly believe, you will achieve. My grandfather left his rum shack in St. Anne's, Jamaica in 1914 to voluntarily come to this country and serve. Voluntarily. Because he believed in something. As I look around today, I look at every face in here and I wonder, do we truly believe we can be the party of government? Yes. Yes. How many of us truly believes we can be a party of government? Yes. Yes. John Rhys Evans does. We do. I will also say that everyone here sitting up here, please, they all deserve credit for putting their heads above the parapet. It's brave. It's not easy to be leader of any party, let alone UKIP. It's not easy. So each person here deserves credit for wanting to take on this challenge. I also say that at the end of this, we all here on this top table are a team. We must be a team. You want us to be a team. Because that's the only way we're going to go forward. John wants us to be a team. We've even said, John has made the point, that if Nigel Farage, our Nigel, decides to come back to the fore,
1 minute to go.
He will step aside. This is more than a party. We have an opportunity to do what we did before. We're the party of courage. We're the party that are fearless in the face of adversity. We were on the pitch when no one else was. For 20 years, we fought a lone battle and won. And we can do it again. And I want to say to you out there now, the leader that we choose must be prepared to stand up, be bold, be bright, be courageous, and speak for you, and you. All of the people, not just some. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm now going to ask Jane if she will read on behalf of Ben Walker.
Right, well, my name's Ben Walker. Might be more convincing if I turned round, but anyway, sorry. Who am I? Well, I joined the Navy following my A-levels, serving on Portsmouth, based on Type 42 destroyers, and I did a tour in the Falklands. Since leaving the armed services in 2003, I have operated my own business in construction also, serving as a town councillor, a town mayor, a district councillor, and vice chair of a local authority. I have been a member of UKIP since 2011 and a parliamentary candidate and a branch chairman of a branch that I actually founded. I am somebody with huge drive and ambition, ready and willing to tackle the challenges ahead, building on the solid foundation that we have and engage the change required to secure our future. What do I want for the party? The party has been through extremely difficult periods of time. Uncertain leadership, no real sense of purpose or direction, an extremely poor general election campaign, and the development of fractures throughout the party. This needs to change, and we need to change this. I want to return this party to its best and then more. You, the members, should have a louder voice and more empowerment. This document intends to set out the main points of my leadership bid, which I believe are required to drive this party forward in a proactive and pioneering direction. Return to our 2015 status and our poll rating.
One minute.
And vote share, whilst building on its appeal to more people across the political spectrum. UKIP has always been known for its common sense when we talk about real issues of the day that matter to people. I have always seen this as the common sense approach. We need to remodel the existing party structure by redefining the role of the NEC. Elected county chairs will become members of the NEC to help reconnect to the grassroots, create and employ and empower paid county coordinators who will support their branches and members and locally elected members and candidates. To ensure that UKIP has a very clear policy direction and the branches are kept informed and given material to sell these messages. I'm going to just cut it a little short because I don't want to miss too much out for him. Across the board, the party needs to professionalise, from the way members carry themselves online collectively to how the party portrays itself to the electorate. We need to be better, different and fresh in comparison to our political opponents. This will require a full rebrand of the party, and it could require a name change. But that's, he said could.
Thank you.
Okay. We've got to embrace the future and embrace political campaigning by moving more forward with savvy platforms, giving real ownership and influence for the membership, likened to formats used in Italy and by Labour in this country. Thank you.
Can I thank Jane for standing in?
I don't think the electorate cares about what we do within the party. I don't mean we have no internal issues, but I think what matters is what we stand for in the electorate's eye. And I also agree with Anne-Marie Waters on this, if no other thing, that we need a simple and clear message. I would like UKIP to be a party of wealth creation. And I'm going to give you some more specific reasons to vote for me as leader if you think these are good things. So the first is that more than any other candidate, I would like to reduce the burden of taxation on British industry. I propose to reduce that burden by about £80 billion a year. It's about 25%. And the aim of that would be to make our industry more competitive. The second thing that I believe very ardently is that we should trade freely. That means we don't have managed trade, we don't bother to negotiate with the EU, we just unilaterally declare free trade. We are going to buy everything for the best value for money we can get from wherever it's made, and that's the end of the trade issue. 63% of British households receive a benefit. And this, in my opinion, is mad. And more than any other candidate, I would change that. I propose to reduce the welfare budget by 43%. Now, Peter Whittle spoke rather effectively in London of poor people, but one thing, and the consequences that could have for them, but one point I do want to make to you is that is where the welfare budget was in 1999. in real terms, more or less. 43% is a massive cut, but it's not taking us back to the Victorian era. Moreover, the £114 billion a year that would save would allow us to achieve another one of my objectives, which is fiscal responsibility, living within our means. David Curtin will also say that is very important, but I'm sure he'll come back on this, but he hasn't actually got a precise programme for the massive cuts that are needed to achieve that. Another policy that I feel very strongly about, which is not to do with creating wealth, is defence. As it happens, of all the candidates, I am proposing the largest increase in defence. Now, namely 25 billion. It would take us to the same level of expenditure, roughly in nominal terms, as the Russians. And I am proposing that only in the context of greater cuts from elsewhere, because we do need to be able to afford all the good things we want to spend our money on. And finally, I want to say one thing about me as a candidate for making money. And in fact, I like the free market. And the reason I like it is not because it is more creative, not because it is more productive, but because I love freedom. And I think a relationship from which you can walk away, however painful, is better than a tyranny of either the many or the few as a model for society. And that's how I think about free markets. It's people voluntarily doing things together. Thank you very much.
And now over to Marion.
My name's Marion Mason. I've been a member of UKIP since January 2008. That's 10 years. I was a sitting councillor for the Conservatives when I crossed the floor in 2008 because I'd become increasingly concerned about the control the European Union had over this country, which I'm sure was the reason why a lot of you joined. I know quite a few of you out there, and I've actually worked hard since I joined. I've been a grassroots member and had many positions. I will name a few, and I won't bore you too much. I've been chairman, PPC twice, Police and Crime Commission candidate, and I'm the patron and currently a member of the NEC at the moment. So I actually know UKIP very well, and I want UKIP to build and go forward now. Sadly, some of our members, who are now ex-members, no longer think we're fit for purpose since the referendum, but that was our Independence Day. Now we need to move forward because we are needed more than ever. We only have to see some of the backsliding and the things that are going on now. UKIP is needed more so, and we have to make sure that we get our ex-members back and that the British public realise who we are and what we're here for. We have to make sure there's no more backsliding. Brexit means exit. It means it on the day we want it and without having to pay a substantial amount of money, which is being pandered around, as we know. So that's what I'm actually aiming for. I want to make sure that we are seen more credible as a political party. On a personal level, I'm very involved in the NHS, as I'm a nurse, and I've been so for many years. And I would like to see UKIP going more on centre ground with things that people are interested in. In particular, I'd like UKIP to become champions of the NHS. So I want the same as you. I want UKIP to be a political party to go forward and build and be attractive to the British electorate. I don't think there's a great deal more to say because I want the question and answer session because I want the questions from all the audience. That's what you're here for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marion. Now on to David Curtin.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for coming and turning up this evening. I'm a London Assembly member, and I joined UKIP about 5 years ago. And I never thought I'd be in this position when I joined because I thought Nigel would be the leader forever. But he stood down after the referendum, sadly, and so now we're in the situation, I'll just carry on as we are, that we're in. But anyway, I was outside Parliament a few weeks ago getting my photograph taken for the campaign. And when I got there with my photographer, there was a protest of people protesting for the EU, and they were waving big EU flags outside Parliament. Because I was there getting my photograph taken, I had something in my pocket that I don't normally have, which was a big not a EU flag, I got it wrong, a big Union Jack. Okay, didn't want one there. So I took it out and I held it up and I stood in front of this EU protest and I had my photograph taken. And this annoyed the protesters somewhat. So they came over and they said, "We were here first, go away. You can't stand here in front of us." And I said, "Look, it's my flag. I can do what I want in my country. I'll stand where I want with it." And thank you very much. And the photographer said to them, "Look, well, just face it. We won. We're coming out of the EU. Just be happy. Everything's going to be fine." But they said back to us with absolute sincerity, "No, we're going to keep you in. Going to make sure you stay in." One of them was Italian, one of them was German, and one of them was Welsh. So it's a strange combination of people. But the reason I say that is because there are people who are very, very powerful within the establishment who are determined to take away our freedom and our independence, which we won. So we have to keep Brexit at the top of our agenda, and I will do that until we finally do come out and we have the independence that we've got for ourselves and the freedom to be outside of the EU and to make the trade deals around the world. You're going to tell me, are you going to tell me I have 3 minutes left?
1 minute.
But we also need to think about what we're going to be as a party and what we want to be as a country after we leave the EU. And the leader's going to set the tone for the policy. And I think there's certain areas which we can take ground on, which is our ground. First of all, education. I think we need to be self-sufficient in skills as a country. That's a winner. Because of the immigration we've had over the last 20 years, our own young people don't get the skills they need, particularly technical skills, as we have massive imports of cheap labour. That is a key area for us. Secondly, standing up to political correctness. Also, thank you very much, which is one of the reasons I came into the party in the first place. And what Justine Greening is doing, the Education Secretary at the moment, in schools is of great concern to parents and families all over the country, trying to push transgender education on primary school kids. The Conservative and name-only party have joined the Labour and Lib Dems and Greens on the far progressive left. This is our territory, and it needs someone with courage to stand up and say, "This is wrong. Have I got 3 minutes left now? This is wrong. And it's our territory, and we've got to stop our kids being damaged in this way by the politically correct cultural Marxist elite, which has got into Westminster, and we need to take that territory. We also need a...
Thank you. Thank you.
Please ask me questions after.
Okay, sorry to cut you off, but there's always the opportunity for the audience to ask questions of the panel generally. On to you, Jane.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Ben... Oh, no. Right, I'll start again. My name's Jane Collins. I'm an MEP for Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire, and I've been with UKIP for just over 14 years. What I want to do in my opening address is discuss the role of a party leader. The role of a party leader is to provide political direction and stability to a party. As a leader, you must not become distracted too much with administration. You put your chairman in place to deal with that. Ask Nigel, he could never have led the party so well if he'd have been in the administration side of it as well. As leader, I will put together a new team of professional people who will each have their defined roles, and they will be answerable to a new reformed NEC. This frees you up to actually be the political head of the party and get your message across. My campaign will focus on 3 big issues, and these issues are vital to the smooth running of the party. And once we get the party running smoothly, we can be that efficient political campaigning machine again. Now, messaging. I fought 2 by-elections. I started as a parish councillor and ended up as an MEP, so I've had quite a journey. But my experience means I have the ability to get a message across in what I call bite-sized chunks. that will be favourable to the media, but it also works with the voters as well. I know how to put a campaign team together with a head of target seats who would sit on the NEC, but also go to the branches, discuss election material, train canvassers, and hit the ground running with really important messages when there is an election called, so that we're not left behind. Now, again, the media, you have to be known.
1 minute.
You can't have the media saying, who are you? You have to be known. And I do understand we've got some brilliant newcomers at the table, but if the media doesn't know you, you're in trouble. And a party can't survive without fundraising. As a leader, you have to fundraise, you have to meet potential donors, and you have to attract potential donors. I've attracted 3 donors who are now with UKIP again. One had already left, but he's come back, and you have to be able to talk to these people, give them confidence. This is the most important election you will ever vote on in UKIP. If you get this wrong, UKIP is finished. It's a battle. We've got to get back to where we were. We've got to push the political agenda again. But it's a battle I'm in, and I want to bring you with me. So if you're up for it, ladies and gentlemen, I am too. Thank you.
And now on to David, who's standing in for Henry.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. Right, my name is David Allen. I'm standing in for Henry Bolton. I'm just looking at a picture of it. We do seem to have very similar hairstyles. Now, I began this election campaign as one of the candidates. And I've done the same as everybody else. I mean, I chipped in my £5,500 and I attended several hustings. And I made a decision last Monday week, to step down and put my full support behind Henry Bolton. And I think the best thing I can do now is to tell you why I did that. I knew Henry Bolton. I met him when he was campaigning for the PPC in Kent. So I was aware of his background and his spectacular, quite spectacular career. Now, it won't come as a surprise to anybody here that I pretty much agree with everything that's been said so far. After all, we are all in the same party. We all have the same views. We all want the same things. But this contest is about leadership. It is about how to achieve those from a position which is quite poor. We did very badly in the 2017 general election for quite a number of reasons, but we now have to bring ourselves back. And the leader of the party not only has to resonate and connect with the members of the party, but more importantly with the public. I made this decision because I think Henry Bolton is that man. Now, I'm not going to read out everything he's done because that would take longer than the 3 minutes. But he's been head of a crisis response team in Ukraine, head of border security programs for the world's largest security organisation, head of multinational ceasefire operations in Skopje region in Macedonia, district governor and head of local government for the UN in Kosovo. I could go on. This man has incredible international security experience, and because of that was awarded the OBE, I think it was in 2015, for services to international security. In short, he is a proven leader.
1 minute to go.
And a very successful one. Now, it's a shame that he can't be here tonight. He has to be in Brussels. But I spoke to Henry just over a week ago. Now, I realised that I came into this election because I wanted to press the electoral reform agenda. I think that's a way to move the party forward, and it's something we need to do. I spoke very at length with Henry. We're on the same page on that. And if Henry wins the competition, I make no secret of the fact that I will be part of his leadership team, and I will take on the mantle of electoral reform and drive that through in a way that nobody's seen before. So we have quite a different way of doing it. So in a sense, I'm not kind of stepping exactly completely out of it. So I ask you, when you come to vote, and all these good people here, they all have skills, they all have abilities, but Henry Bolton has an exceptional degree of exceptional background and degree of ability, which is why I'm backing him to lead the party. And I think he does have the ability to move us forward. Thank you very much.